right, welcome to Tailgate Talk. It's Ritter and Tasker. Wags could not make it today. Happy 100th episode.
It's pretty exciting, man.
I can't believe we've been able to make it to 100. First off, that we were able to stick with it, and two, that we're, as far as the radio portion goes, have a station that, is willing to stick with us for 100 episodes.
Totally agree. We're building our sponsors up. We've got 2 of them now. That's exciting.
Yeah, I love it. I got to say, again, thanks to them, especially Buckrub Outfitters, Buckrub Archery, all the great things that they do. You can check them out, Silvernail Road in Pewaukee. Whether you're looking for a new bow, you've got a used bow you need tuned up, you're just looking to stay sharp throughout the season, they are the perfect place for you to go and check out. Again, buckrubarchery.com. And, of course, Bunzel's Meat Market in Milwaukee has been a staple in the Milwaukee area for so many years. I can't say enough about the fantastic sausage. That's always a staple for any holiday gathering and just general gatherings. Perfect football food, and they're the perfect place to cater whatever needs you have. You can check them out at bunzels.com. So 100 episodes, we wanted to do something extra special, something extra fun. And we were thinking about, what do we do? What's possible? What has Eric Tasker not really, really done? Like, you've ice fished before, but have you, ice fished like we just did today?
No. I've ice fished for a bachelor party where we drank the entire night and then fished all morning until everybody fell asleep. And I actually fished on Christmas Day one year.
Okay.
But besides that, no, I haven't.
So we thought about 100th episode. Let's do something special. So here we are. We actually just spent the morning ice fishing on a lake in southeastern Wisconsin, and didn't think this would. The original plan was that we were going to record this while on the ice and fishing. However, power situations became a thing. I thought how we could record, and the equipment that we had was able to connect to battery. However, it's not. So we fished the day, and now afterwards we are doing our first official show, a show named Tailgate Talk, about talking around the tailgate, on the tailgate of my truck after we got done.
How fitting is that, though?
I think that's the most fitting way to do the 100th episode, is to be on the tailgate. And, of course, the entire morning we're joined by our friend Jon Reznack, Clam Pro Tackle, who kind of worked hand-in-hand with me of putting the whole thing together. I would say Jon probably did all of the work. Would that be fair if I said that, Jon?
Guide service res.
I mean, we kind of split everything as much as possible with it, but it was just a matter of finding the right lake, making sure we got good ice out here. Southeastern Wisconsin's tough to find halfway decent ice, so we got it out here, and just kind of said, all right, boys, let's do it. So,
well, thanks for all the help of getting that going and putting it together. And like I said, I couldn't think of a more fitting way to do the 100th episode of a show based in the Midwest than actually doing one of the most Midwest things you can possibly do, ice fishing, something that other places of the country just don't quite understand, don't get to experience. And who caught the most fish today? Was it Rez? I think it was Rez.
It has to be.
Yeah. I only iced 2. I iced a slime ball and a really nice bass, which, of course, I'm the one guy that's going to jig up a bass. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it was fun, though, right? I mean, it was cool because we had a couple tip-ups, a couple tip-downs. We jigged for a while, which, as you found out in our Canada show, that's my least favorite way of fishing. But it was a blast. I mean, I figured out how to read a Vexilar.
Yep. We taught you how to do that.
That was fun because my small fish finder that I have that goes on my kayak, the Garmin, has that option, but I only found it by accident trying to figure out why my depth finder wasn't reading correctly. So I've always been interested in how those work, and I'm just glad to finally have an idea as to what's happening when the lights start flashing and working the bait right above them and
then quietly looking over at me and while he's reeling in a fish.
I learned quickly, though, because I remember the first couple that you pulled up through the ice. Yep. All of a sudden, no words, no nothing, and then all of a sudden I look over and Rez's rod is tipped down towards the ice, and he's just slowly reeling it in and working it up, and it was kind of funny. So I had to pay tribute that way at one point in time.
It was perfect, and that smile of hey, I got the fish here.
Well, it finally happened because, boy, I was fighting those couple for a while there, and it finally happened.
You
so
worked
that was
that's all
exciting.
that matters.
One of my favorite parts about this show is exactly that it's, it's titled Tailgate Talk. It's about BS on the tailgate, exactly what we're doing right now. But, personally, one of my favorite parts of the show has been so far Eric Tasker, in the openness to try things and explore things, and the fact that we all admit the entire time we're not experts. That's why we go with people that know more than us, and that's the best way to learn anything, is to find people that know more than you and go with them and be a sponge and soak it up. And I always love hearing your perspective of telling the story. Like I said, Canada to me was just so much fun. And be like, this jigging thing is terrible. I hate this. I hate doing this. And then talking about depth finders and ice fishing. So it's been fun. I love your openness, Eric Tasker, is what I'm trying to say.
I'll try a lot of things at least once. Rez and I, you weren't there for this, but as we were walking off the ice, I was walking with Rez, and he says, you can just tell me. Just tell me your honest feeling about it. You can tell me you don't ever want to do it again. And I said, you know what, honestly, I looked at my wife last night because we went out with the kids, and they're home for spring or Christmas break, and I didn't get home until like 11:30, and I knew you guys were going to be out here early. And I said, you know what? Honestly, I looked at my wife last night, and I said, I really right now just value my sleep over ice fishing. But what I said was, I really didn't mind it. It's not something that I would go out and do on my own. But I think doing it in this kind of a fashion where there's a group of us and it's a social thing, I'm totally good with the 4.5 hours or whatever that we actually fished. I am totally good with fishing for 2 hours and just shooting the breeze for 2 hours.
That's the best part about ice fishing, is the fact that we went out there. My dad and my grandpa came out after we got out here. We did all the dirty work for them, did all the tough work. But just going out and meeting people. I know that you were talking with my grandpa for a little bit, and he just tells stories about how he met random guys out on the ice, and they became lifelong fishing partners and friends and all that. And that's what it really, ice fishing, that's what makes it really special, because you can't do that on a boat.
No.
I mean, you could do it on shore, but you're not sharing that same experience because you can't be right next to each other. That's special.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was, it was kind of cool as daylight broke and as the day kind of woke up with us out on the ice. There were more and more people that showed up out there, and we had a little kid with his parents that were out there, and you walked over and said, hey, if you don't want to use the hand auger, by all means, fish any of these. If you want to jump in the
warm shack because they weren't prepared, jump right in. I mean, I don't get defensive about it. I mean, guys get really bent out of shape about some random person fishing their hole. Just talk to them. I mean, they're random guys. Who cares? You never know who you might run into. You might run into a really nice guy and make plans with them, and next thing you know is you're fishing the Mississippi or Green Bay or whatever with them, doing fishing trips. So
I was telling the story on the ice too about one time when I was fishing another lake in southeast Wisconsin here, and I caught my limit of bluegills, and I mean that's all I was doing, have a little fun. I noticed that there was a dad that was out there with 2 kids, and they were like in a shack, and I don't know if they were catching it because we're inside. I wasn't watching them, and finally as I was packing up and kind of leaving to walk by, I popped by Dad and said, hey, how you guys doing? And he's like, oh, nothing. It's just nothing going on. I'm like, all right, here's the deal, Dad. And I gave him the whole layout, and I walked him right over, and I said right here, and set the kids, this is how just, and catch fish and have a good day. We'll see you later. I enjoy doing things like, especially anyone that's got kids, because again, it's all about getting kids involved in the outdoors. And some people will be like, oh, more people, it gets crowded. Whatever. No, it's not about that. It's camaraderie. It's the fun. It's the family. You get that one kid that, did we talk about that at one point in time, saying of just thinking back to being a kid and catching your first fish, how that makes you just hooked. That's all it took was your first fish and suddenly you're hooked. Yep. And you're in. So, the camaraderie part, you're right, Rez. That's definitely a big part of what I think is great about ice fishing. And I think just the outdoors in general is the camaraderie and getting together of things.
It's a special group of people because we all do the same thing. We all understand the struggles. We all understand the triumphs of everything. And it's one of those that we all share a common bond when it comes down to it.
Number one thing, Tasker, that you picked up that you learned today that you'll never forget while ice fishing? I can let you think on it. I'll let you think on it, so you can think on that. We're going to circle back around, take a quick break. We're going to continue the 100th episode of Tailgate Talk live from ice fishing in southeastern Wisconsin. This is Tailgate Talk. Hey, it's Ritter, and if you follow my socials or listen to our show a lot, I'm sure you've heard me talk about how relaxing and fun archery is. In fact, my wife has joined me and got a bow of her own at the same place I did. Buck Rub Archery. They are your locally owned and operated one-stop shop for all things archery. With the area's largest inventory, they won't be undersold on any bow or crossbow. It's open to the public and the ideal place to find and test a bow before you buy. Plus, they also rent equipment, offer archery lessons, and have space for hosting birthday parties, scouts, or other events. And if you got an old bow that needs to be fixed, they can take care of you as well. Seriously, check them out off I-94 on Silverdale Road or buckrubarchery.com.
Bunzel's Old-Fashioned Meat Market is Milwaukee's family-run deli and grocer for 4 generations. Pick up prime cuts of meat, award-winning jerky, and homemade specialty sausages. They're open, so come on in or call ahead and they'll have your order waiting when you get there. Bunzel's famous meat deal for January includes 2 butter garlic chicken breasts, 2 homemade brats, 1 whole or cut up chicken, a pound of lean ground chuck, and 2 chicken patties, all for $20.23. You can see all of their specials online at bunzels.com. Do you like fishing, but maybe you don't have all the equipment or know-how and still want to catch fish? We've got the perfect trip planned for you. We're inviting you to join us and the team at Ballard's Black Island on Lake of the Woods in Ontario for a Canadian fishing adventure. We'll hook up trophy walleye, monster muskies, explosive bass, and huge pike. And the best part is, this is an all-inclusive fishing trip, fully guided. You'll stay in modern cabins, meals are all included, and this is really a no-worries, super-inclusive, just show up and catch fish trip. Group of buddies, dads and kids, husbands and wives, girlfriends, everyone's included and gonna have a blast. Meals, beverages, fully equipped boats, plus the guide, it's all included. And this year, we're taking over the resort, August 19th to the 24th. To get the best rate, save big, you're gonna book your spot before February 28th. But you gotta hurry up, because spots are filling up fast. You can get all of the info at blackisland.com. And let's go get hooked up.
All right, welcome back to Tailgate Talk, 100th episode. Yes, you can follow us on socials, on the Tailgate. I am at The Real Ritter, as in Fishing Reel. At Wisco Bow Hunting is Eric Tasker. We are together live outside ice fishing for the 100th episode, joined by Jon Reznack, Clam Pro Tackle. It's at Jon_Reznack.
Yep, Jon_Reznack.
Wags couldn't make it today. Forgot there was a conflict of interest after he was fired up and ready to go. We did the show last week. I can't wait. It's going to be good. And then got the call. It was like, oh, I forgot I had a conflict of things. So that happens.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
We miss you, Wags. We're thinking about you while you're nice, toasty, warm inside at home, and we just spent 5-6 hours on the ice.
I mean, the shack was nice and toasty, the hub shack. That was Tasker walked in there at one point. He was like, yeah, it's a sauna in here.
Yeah, and then I immediately noticed that there was a crack in the ice right underneath the heater, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is one of the reasons that I am very hesitant about being out there.
That's a growth crack. You don't have to worry about that at all. So.
Yeah.
So what we were planning this, throughout the week, the 3 of us have been messaging and stuff, and Tasker, your biggest concern was ice and ice safety, and that's something that, especially early ice, the weird weather we've had, in and around the Midwest so far this winter is, we had like a hard freeze, and then it was like warm and rain and warm and not quite like a snow in a lot of places. I mean, the northern part of the state of Wisconsin and Minnesota, I mean, you've got the snow, and snow can actually wreak more havoc on ice than just cold. But how did you feel? Did you feel unsafe at all?
I think that when I got here and you guys were already set up out there, it was nice for me to just step out onto the ice without anybody else being around, because I wanted to just, I don't know. I mean, I knew you guys were fine being out here, and John, you came out earlier in the week and just did an ice check, and there was already 5 or 6 inches at that point in time. So I felt fine once we were actually out on the ice. I didn't really try and make a big deal out of it, but I think it cracked one time when we were walking back in, and you were like, oh, nope, it's fine, it's fine.
So that's the cool part about ice fishing is when you, especially, it's not early ice right now, but for us it's early ice,
and the way the weather's
we haven't
been.
had it. So, but when you hear it cracking like that in the beginning of the season, that's really, really good. It's just growing, which is good. You want to hear that. Towards the end of the season, when it's warm out, it's not too good because it's not making ice, it's losing ice. But it's not a bad thing to hear that sound. And you're lucky it's muffled out because we got some snow on there. because if there was no snow, it would be really, really loud.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that whatever we had today was just fine by me.
In the light dusting of snow that we've got now, so, we talked about last week's show that back on New Year's Day, Rez and I went out and did some fishing. The difference in the fish that were caught today versus then, I definitely think the snow on the ice played a big part, because we were on such a clear lake the last time. And, you wouldn't think of it, but on such a clear lake, when you're that body standing and above you is nothing but white, essentially, you stand out. Fish see you. Fish figure that out. But once you get that little layer of snow, you're camouflaged. You're kind of hidden more. And I think that definitely helped us out today.
Yeah, definitely. And that's good that you bring that up, because that is one tactic when you go out and you ice fish, especially a big body of water. Some of those lakes, like Winnebago, the Madison Chain, if we don't get a lot of snow, and snow patches do come up, you fish the snow patches because the fish hide underneath them for shade. It's just like an overhang tree or a dock or whatever. They'd go right underneath there, and it's an ambush point for them. So with that today and this the snow cover that we have, the fish are going to be stacked up on structure. It just makes it easier to find them, and it covers our movement and covers our sound, actually, too. Our creepers and everything, that makes a lot of noise. So,
as far as ice safety goes, if it's someone that has never went ice fishing or is a little leery on things, or maybe did a bit, a little bit as they were younger and haven't in a while or getting back into it, what would you say, John, is kind of the must-have things for going on ice? No matter, early ice, late ice, whatever, what kind of are your top safety items for people to have?
Yeah, so the first one is take your time. Don't rush anything. Second one would be ice picks, because that's what's going to get you out of the ice. Third one would be a float suit after that. Fourth one would be a throw rope. And then the last one is a buddy system. Go out with somebody else. If you don't know what you're doing, or you're inexperienced, or it's been a while, make sure you go out with somebody else, and just make sure that you have a good game plan of, this is where my equipment is, especially the throw rope, because you're going to be wearing your spikes, you're going to be wearing your ice or your float suit. Just making sure that you have a good, solid game plan. Like when we went out, hey, my throw rope's right here on top of my bucket. It's all ready to go. All you got to do is throw it if I fall in. So coming up with a good game plan.
We both walked out side by side. We both had our spud bars, and we're checking, every so many feet. Kind of my rule with spud bars, if I can slam in a spot twice really hard, that's good enough for me to stand on. But if I slam twice and the second one goes through, or any kind of water starts coming through, that's I'm not feeling safe on that.
Yeah, that is one thing I did fail to mention. You definitely got to have a spud bar. It's a cheap investment.
With Flea Farm, I think you pick one up for $40. Not affiliated, not sponsored, not giving them a plug. I think that's where I picked mine up, but that's why I say that.
It's super cheap. You need it. Do you need it when there's 12 inches of ice? No, but it does help for breaking open old holes instead of slamming your auger down on it.
Which we saw quite a few times today.
Yeah. Don't slam your auger down, please. It ruins your blades. But definitely just take your time. Don't rush anything, because it's not needed.
All right. So I asked the question earlier. Say you, Eric Tasker, what's the number one takeaway, number one thing you've learned while being out today ice fishing that you won't forget? It could be as simple as a name of something. Because I'm always curious, what is a takeaway?
Well, I don't know. I think the one thing that I would say, and I was going to say this in the first break, was ice fishing feels a lot different from open water fishing, purely for the fact of the conversation you had with the family and being much less territorial than being out in a boat or being out in a kayak. And that may just be our group of guys that are much more open to having people, nearby, or just offering that up and saying, hey, come on over, instead of, having the kid pound his auger through and slam it on the ice and damage the blades and everything. That does feel a lot different. But, like I said, I feel like that's more our group of guys that we were out there with that are much more open to that, because I'm sure not everybody's like that. I don't know. It was kind of what I was expecting. It's probably not the answer you wanted to get out of me, but
no, I was curious if there was something specific, like I learned how to read a Vexilar, or I read that.
And I did say that before. And it's just good to have that information and to kind of understand it. for any time that I would do this in the future, so that if I were to ever get invited to do it with somebody outside of you guys, I don't have to look like an idiot now. I can just act like I know what I'm doing.
Don't fake it till you make it. But
I
you
still
got
feel
the
like an
information
idiot.
for it.
Yeah.
I still feel like an idiot at times, and I've been doing it since I was like 5 years old. So
Yeah.
You get some of those moments of like,
the last time we went out in the
What?
first,
Yeah.
for some reason I couldn't get my head. I was like, I swear I've been fishing before.
but
Yeah.
that happens every year though. I mean, that happens to me. You don't ice fish year round up here, and
Right.
you could quote ice fish off the side of your boat. I've done it with my ice rods, but it's completely different. So I mean, you're gonna have those moments of like, just think before you do, type deal. So
Yeah. I would also say to just, if you've never gone ice fishing or if you've gone ice fishing once or twice before, find yourself somebody like a Reznack and a Ritter that have everything. And I was instructed to bring like yak tracks or, like ice crawlers of some sort, just so that you're not sliding around on the ice, a bucket to sit on, or a chair to sit on, and warm clothes.
Yep, exactly.
So it was so funny because as I was kind of getting some of my stuff together last night, I got this really nice, like, heavy late season gear for Christmas.
Sick,
and
right?
yeah, right. And I was just kind of getting ready, and I just kept telling Sherry, I'm like, I need to bring literally nothing. I can finally use this like cushioned 5-gallon bucket pad that goes on top there, just for shore fishing or for ice fishing or for whatever. And that's all I have to bring with. Like, that's super nice because it's like, for me, I would never go ice fishing if I had to go out and I had to go buy all of these things, because I mean, I was just at Cabela's the other day trying to find yak tracks or whatever to put on my boots. And it's like, an ice auger's $500. You got to buy a number of rods. You got to get rigged up for everything.
By the way, noise walking by was someone walking their sled headed out onto the ice just to clear the noise going by.
So I mean, that just makes it so much easier, So if you are somebody like me who does not have everything that you need, hopefully you're able to find somebody that is willing to take you out and that is willing to kind of show you the ropes and, hopefully has some of the gear, because it's just that much easier to figure out, because I would never just go out and buy a bunch of stuff knowing I don't know if I'm going to do it again, or I don't know when the next time would be. Otherwise, you're $1,000 in at minimum, and
especially nowadays with all the, I mean, look at how fancy the equipment's got. We were talking about earlier, the setup that I've built to put my Garmin UHD 93 SV in that I use in my kayak just to be able to keep using it. Like, you fish, by the way, with my Showdown troller that Marco makes. I mean, I've used that for years because it's so lightweight and portable.
Yeah.
And I would still be using that, but I had this, and like, let's find a way to make it work together. But I mean, they're selling that same unit with live scope and all that, and it's like $3,500.
Yep.
Yeah.
It seems like
It's crazy.
I think sometimes people feel like that's the only way to ice fish. Like, I feel like media and marketing has done that job of making you feel like, oh, well, I that's what I have to buy. I have to buy a, $400 worth of auger. I've got to buy a $1,200 shack. I got to spend $3,500 on that. Like, next thing you know, you're basically a bass boat in, and you can only use it for 2 months out of the year.
But it also comes though when, if Tasker gets into it and starts wanting to do it more, my opinion is you should buy the best that you can afford, right? So if you can afford a brand new auger, buy the brand new auger, because it's not going to go bad 10 years from now type deal, especially if you're using like the cordless drills and everything. That's a dual purpose. I mean, I use mine during the summertime for the honey to-do list that I got at home, and then I just throw it in the truck for ice fishing. So
yeah, that's something I've fought off for so long. I've always been such a Jiffy person all my life, just growing up using Jiffy augers. I was telling the tale this morning about, back in the day, like growing up, we had a 10-inch Jiffy auger. We did a lot of big pike fishing on the Bay of Green Bay, being that I grew up there. So we just had the big holes. And now I've got an 8-inch Jiffy propane auger myself that I use because I enjoyed the fact that, well, I don't have the smell of the fuel, and the fact that I can take propane tanks that fuel my heater and fuel my auger. And I've been fighting off the whole drill thing, but now after a few times out, I'm sold on it. I guess I'm going to go and buy myself a K-drill or one of the other ones that, just attaches onto the drill.
Yeah, I fought it for so long. My grandpa, he's had his DeWalt for so long, and he's like, hey, just get rid of the gas and just get with the hand auger, the drill and chuck up the hand auger to it. And no, I'm going to use my gasser. And then I did the same thing. I just pulled the trigger, bought the drill, and all right, let's do it, and just went all in with it. So it's totally worth it.
All right. Well, we're talking lots of ice fishing. We're talking all kinds of things. We celebrate the 100th episode of Tailgate Talk. And again, thanks to Buck Rub Archery and Buck Rub Outfitters for being a big sponsor of the show. Bunzels as well, coming aboard this year, and look forward to what will come forward to the next 100 episodes, as we're now 100 in. And spent the entire morning out ice fishing. We've been talking a bit about safety tips and some other stuff that goes along with, spending some time on the ice. I'm just kind of curious, because it fits the theme of the show, which, by the way, I'll bring up. We're recording. The show is being done right now on the tailgate of my truck, which is very fitting for Shaun and Tailgate Talk.
It's about time we did one of those.
The amount of looks that guys have been looking at us when they're dragging out is like, what are these guys doing? They're holding microphones
Probably
here.
Probably think it's a news crew or something.
Or they're thinking, oh, these stupid YouTubers are in here, and they're going to blow up the spot. And next, everyone's going to be on this lake. And
notice we have not said which lake we're at.
No,
yet,
it's
it's
southeastern Wisconsin. Yeah. There's lots of them here. Mm-hmm. But we've talked about it before. I'm not ever the person that's super worried about it. I mean, my YouTube channel, Reznack's been the pretty much person that's watched anything, but you were in this lake, right? And I'm like, yeah. I'm not worried about hiding it. Yeah. You still got to catch the fish. There's plenty of water for everybody.
When you know type deal is what it comes down to. So,
I forget where I was going with that before I was going to say it. Well, at On the Tailgate is our socials. That's going to say because it's very fitting that we're on a tailgate. Ha, ha, ha. Favorite, and I know, Tasker, you might not have, the years to go with this, but I know, Jon, you definitely would. Favorite ice fishing memory? We talked about it earlier, the fact that, this is such a camaraderie thing and family and friends and, maybe it's not the favorite, but like a top 5, a top 10 ice fishing memory that you have.
I have so many. Man, I've been ice fishing since I was 3, so I've been doing it for 30 years now. God, so many, because I would spend, growing up, so many weekends going out with, friends and family and everything. Top 5, that's so hard. God, I'm going to get emotional about this one. 5 years old, Tishigan Lake with my grandpa. We recreated the photo today for
How cool was that?
That was, I'm starting to tear up for it.
Yeah.
That's so much. It's so special.
Yeah, I love that your dad and your grandpa both joined us out today to come and fish for a bit. That's really cool.
I have to admit, I was surprised that the group was as big as it was today. Because I thought it was just going to be the 3 of us, and then all of a sudden I'm out there for 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, yeah, he just caught one in this shack over here and flips it back, and he's there, and then your dad showed up. And
Luke, I met him actually out on this lake. We did a Boy Scout event. One of my other buddies, Jimmy, he's on the Clam team as well, and he calls me up and he says, hey, Jon, let's go out and help these Boy Scouts and teach them how to ice fish. That's another top 5 moment right there, is going out and teaching people how to fish, and especially this Boy Scout crew, because of how close you can get with ice fish. And that's where I met Luke, and we start ice fishing a lot with each other, and it's crazy because you can just walk on a lake, and if you've been doing it long enough, you could probably tell 5 or 6 guys out there that you've fished with in the past, and hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you for a while. Let's fish together more. And that's another top 5 moment. But yeah, you just know people out here, and you get close with them and start fishing with them.
I can remember back. One of my tops, we were talking about earlier, Luke mentioned whitefish, catching whitefish in the Bay Green Bay. Being I grew up there, I'd been doing that before it became the big trendy thing that it's been over the last probably 12 to 15. I've been doing it all my life. And I remember one time, though, it was before I moved here, probably about 2011, 2010, somewhere around there. Going out with a couple of friends, a buddy of mine who had never ice fished before. And again, the teaching, but showing off how fun it can be with the camaraderie and the way that we used to do things. We would do some shallow sight fishing. And so we would set up in double drill holes, and we'd have, basically 2 guys in each end of the shacks, or even if we're just 2 of us, 1 on each end. But we'd also have our cameras outside the shack, way out, and pointed in towards the shack. And so we could kind of communicate, one coming this way, or one just passed through, it's headed your way. So we could really be able to focus and help each other out working through it. We caught so many fish. There was one day with the 4 of us out we had the 4-man limit, and it was like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
it was just so much fun. And then there's me and my one buddy, Craig, who we called Haas. We're sitting, back at my house, just a fillet machine, just trying to get through all these fish. And it took us more time to clean the fish than it did to actually catch the fish. It was that was such a fun time because we got to show someone who had never been ice fishing this just absolutely epic day and this really kind of cool, fun, almost hunting way to fish.
Mm-hmm. I would say another one of my favorite memories, and when you start ice fishing more, you get to experience some really oddball things. And I was telling you when we went out fishing for the first time this year, one lake particularly, there's a long, shallow channel that leads out to the lake. And walking off the first lake that we were fishing, we met a guy on shore, and he's like, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of crappies stacked up in the shallow water at the boat launch. Oh, yeah, right. He's probably telling a fish story, right? Because all fishermen tell the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. That fish was definitely 18 inches.
Right, exactly. So we went over there, and our jaws absolutely hit the floor. And we're like, all right, there's crappies just absolutely loaded in here. Every year I check it, it's never happened since then. But we smacked them for 3 straight days.
Wow.
Just one right after the other. And you would have loved it because we were 3 feet off the shore.
Well, I don't know. The first 2 feet here were not good. So maybe 3 feet would have been too close.
You got your feet wet a little bit. So
shorelines are always the first thing to go. And so my wife works on a lake, and she's always like, oh, I don't know, there's a lot of open water out there. I'm like, there's water on top. And then she's like, oh, look at the shore looks horrible. It's all open water. You can't get to the ice. And it's like, there's plenty of ice there. The shores just erode first. Just you got the boots to get through the water, or if you got to put the plank down, or whatever you got to do, get across. I've crossed bigger ditches to get into a field to goose hunt before. We'll be all right.
Yep.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun to get out. This has been awesome. It's been great to think that we've made it 100 episodes of doing this crap. This is a lot of fun. Wags and I briefly touched on it. As we got towards the end of the year, we started doing kind of some of the look backs of throughout last year. And, think back of where this whole idea and this whole concept came from, the fact that we're now 100 episodes in to this strange random concept of, hey, let's just get some guys together that are just going to BS about hunting and fishing stories, and in with those stories knowing that there's going to be little tips and tricks and tidbits that people are going to pick up from those stories, and just sharing that in, thinking of the guests that have been on with us. Again, the same thing. We're not just like, oh, tell us about this. We spend half the time with, Jeff Gustafson, chatting with Gussie about just random fishing in and around Lake of the Woods where he's from without necessarily tips and tactics, just sharing stories, and stuff like that, and talking about Sturgeon Bay with him, and just all the stuff that we've been able to do for 100 episodes is really cool that we've gotten to this part, and it makes me excited to where we could continue to go from here. So I just wanted to get emotional on that and let that out for a minute, but
isn't it crazy to think about, the really, really long-lasting podcasts that have been around for 10 years or, for as long as podcasts have been around, that we're only at 100 episodes, and there's some people that do these every day of the week. Like the Joe Rogan podcast, for one. It's they're 5,000 episodes in or whatever, ridiculous amount. It's just, I don't know, and there's just so much that comes from it. And you never know when one of those conversations is going to happen. And just we've done a really nice job of getting a wide variety of guests the last 6 months, I guess. We'll say the back half of the year. And just being able to continue having some of those conversations with people from all over the country. Chefs or people from different countries, like professional athletes, So it's cool just to get a nice sample size of a variety of different things, because you never know where those conversations might go and who might be on next week. And
well, I know coming up soon we will have Scott Gigliano, the dog tracker that went out with me tracking my buck that I missed. He's going to be on with us coming up here before the end of January, so that we're looking forward to getting him on the show. Obviously we know we'll get Gussie involved with some stuff later on as well. So,
this guy's backing in. He's going out.
Yes, again, I love the looks. You get everyone giving us the weird looks, like, what are you doing? Is there, as we're sitting here with microphones and headphones and doing things, but
I thought they were going to ask to join in, which they may still. I don't know.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible at this point. So
Yeah, I feel like I don't know where else to go with things. I feel like we just wrap it up short and leave it at that because it's been a heck of a day. We caught fish, we had some fun, we shared some memories, and
Disco and the Crisco coming tonight.
yeah, there's definitely some fish to be fried, which was always a good thing. But thanks again, Jon.
Yeah,
Jon
thank
Reznack,
you
Clam
guys.
Pro Tackle. Where's everyone find you and whatnot if they want to reach out? And
Jon_Reznack on Instagram. So it's REZNACK for the last name, JON for the first name. Shoot me a message. I'm always open.
he'll guide you anywhere. He told me that today.
I'm not a licensed guy, but we'll go out as buddies and we'll make sure it's fun. So I got some I can teach you. I can do whatever. I'm open book. So ask me any question. I'll answer.
Yeah.
absolutely love it. So that's where we're going to wrap it up here. Until next time, you can follow us On the Tailgate. I'm at the Real Ritter, at Wisco Bow Hunting, and we'll talk to Wags next week and see what he's been up to lately. So we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Happy 100th, man.
Yeah, happy 100th Tailgate Talk.